Good evening. I'd like to call the Columbus Board of Education regular business meeting to order and ask our treasurer to call the roll.
President Baker.
Present.
Mr. Brown.
Here.
Vice President Cole.
Present.
Ms. Gibbs.
Present.
Ms. Hudson. Mr. Peretti.
Here.
Ms. Reyes.
Here.
You have a quorum, Mr. President.
Thank you, Mr. Treasurer. And in honor of Women's History Month, I would like to ask Internal Auditor Carolyn Smith to lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. All right, now I'll briefly read through the agenda so we all know the work we have before us this evening. I'll also mention that tonight's business meeting should be relatively short. So we will, after adopting the agenda, we'll take public comment if we have any, after which we will hear a special presentation in recognition of Women's History Month. We will then hear from our superintendent, internal auditor, and treasurer. We will then take up our consent agenda, after which we will hear announcements from the board, and the board will then recess into executive session. So having said that, the chair will now entertain a motion that we approve the agenda as presented.
So moved. Second.
Moved and seconded, Mr. Treasurer?
President Baker.
Yes.
Mr. Brown.
Yes.
Vice President Cole.
Yes.
Ms. Gibbs.
Yes.
Mr. Peretti.
Yes.
Ms. Reyes.
Yes.
That motion carried.
Thank you, Mr. Treasurer. And now we will take public comment if we have any speakers. We do not have any speakers this evening, so we will move on to a special recognition of Women's History Month, for which I will call on Board Member Gibbs.
Thank you, President Baker.
welcome.
President Baker, Vice President Cole, members of the board. Tonight, we are pleased to join the entire nation in celebrating Women's History Month. And throughout the years, we try to highlight organizations that work with women that help further our mission with Columbus City Schools to ensure that each student is highly educated, prepared for leadership and service, and empowered for success as citizens in the global community. And so in the month of March, we are excited to invite one of the amazing organizations that serve Central Ohio, which consists of Franklin, Fairfield, Licking, and Delaware counties. Tonight, we are joined by the Coalition of 100 Black Women, represented tonight by Miss Linda Caney. And she is going to come to the podium and share not only what they do to empower women, but how they empower future women, which are the young girls in our community, to grow strong. So thank you. Thank you for joining us.
Thank you. Thank you so much for that introduction. Good evening, Superintendent Good, President Baker, Vice President Cole, Council members Gibbs, Reyes, Brown, and Peretti. Thank you so much for this opportunity to provide an overview of the National Coalition of 100 Black Women Central Ohio chapter and to highlight the significance of Women's History Month. I am honored to be before you this evening. As mentioned, my name is Linda Caney. I am the founding president of the National Coalition of 100 Black Women Central Ohio chapter and a member of the National Board of the National Coalition of 100 Black Women, Inc. The National Coalition of 100 Black Women Central Ohio chapter advocates on behalf of Black women and girls through national and local actions and strategic alliances to promote leadership development and gender equity in the areas of health, education, and economic empowerment. Our initiatives include addressing the high rate of hypertension, obesity, and infant mortality in the Black community, taking actions to create economic opportunities for women through financial literacy, hosting community forums for local and state political candidates and issues, and creating environments for girls to explore their passions for science, technology, engineering, and math. We are also a partnering organization with Rise Sister Rise, a mentoring program for Black girls ages 11 through 18 who are creating a one-of-a-kind think tank to advocate for issues that impact their lives. Girls in Rise Sister Rise represent many of the schools, middle schools and high schools in the Columbus City School District. During our annual Trailblazer Award and Scholarship Luncheon, we award scholarships to graduating seniors. Girls from Walnut Ridge and Afrocentric high schools have been scholarship recipients. And students from the Downtown High School's criminal justice program serve as security apprentices during the luncheon. So we hope you will join us on May 18th at the Boathouse to see your students in action, because there will be several. The Trailblazer Award and Scholarship Luncheon is a time to recognize women who inspire and uplift women who have blazed a trail for those to follow. This year, we will recognize Dr. Monique Morris, co-founder of the National Black Women's Justice Institute. Dr. Morris is the author of an insightful book that many of you probably have heard of called Push Out: The Criminalization of Black Girls in Schools. We invite you to join us for a community discussion with Dr. Morris on the state of Black girls on the evening of May 17th, hopefully at one of our Columbus City School buildings. Dr. Morris will then spend some time with our girls at the Columbus City Preparatory School for Girls in the morning prior to receiving her Trailblazer Award, and each of you will receive an invitation to that event. Women's History Month is a time to celebrate the lives of women too long missing from our history books and absent from our national memory. We look forward to a day when society need not remind itself to note the extraordinary accomplishments of women, but it will be a given, when women will no longer be introduced as the first woman, or the only woman, or the first woman of color, but rather as a person, and acknowledge her accomplishments. Women's History Month is a celebration of women's contributions to history, culture, and society, to recognize teachers, advocates, and mentors who help women, girls, and other groups gain access to all that society has to offer. Tomorrow, March 8th, is actually International Women's Day, where women around the world will be joining together to advocate for equity, justice, and human rights of women and all gender-oppressed people. Some will strike. Others will choose to spend money only at women or minority-owned businesses, and many will wear red in solidarity. Did you know that there's an International Women's Day celebration right here in your community? It's being held at the Fawcett Center, where 15 women's groups collaborate to sponsor the 21st Women's Coming Together Luncheon in celebration of International Women's Day. This luncheon honors ordinary women doing extraordinary things in our community. This year's honorees include a tireless advocate doing extraordinary volunteer work to improve the life of the LGBTQ individuals and people living with HIV. It recognizes a woman who helps improve understanding between Muslims and individuals of different faiths. And it also will recognize a woman who has faithfully and tirelessly served as a volunteer physician for Helping Hands Health and Wellness Center. Our community needs the best efforts, ideas, and talents to succeed. If women's history can shape the future, as it has in the past, we can all ensure others to take bold steps to make a difference. Let's remember women's history, but let's celebrate women 365 days a year. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. And would all the members, will you introduce your member that joined you?
Member Robin Jones. Robin joined our chapter all the way from Oakland, California. So we are very pleased and proud to have Robin in our chapter.
Awesome. Thank you both for coming, and thank you for that insightful presentation, and we will take notes and look forward to those invitations. President Baker, that concludes our presentation.
Thank you, Board Member Gibbs, and thank you, President Caney, for being here this evening. Any questions or comments from board members? We look forward to seeing you on the 18th of May.
Yes, thank you very much.
Thank you very much for being here. All right. Let us move on to our executive reports. Mr. Superintendent, the floor is yours.
Thank you, President Baker, Vice President Cole, members of the board, and a special thanks to Linda Caney. That was a lovely presentation. Thanks again. Bravo. So tonight I want to begin with the number, and the number is 2,160,000. That's a rough guess on the number of extra minutes on top of the regular instructional time that our elementary students have devoted to reading this past week as part of the National Read Across America Week. From readathons and bulletin board competitions to celebrity guest readers and family literacy nights, students and staff all across our district commemorated this special week, topping it off with the celebration of what would have been the 113th birthday of author Theodore Geisel, best known as Dr. Seuss. Truly a model of our all-hands-in approach to grade-level reading. The guest readers in our schools included bus drivers and food service personnel, OSU football players and Columbus police officers, elected officials and local business leaders, senior administrators from our central office, and even news folks from our local TV stations. You've heard me say this before, all-hands-in approach is one of the factors that helped our district achieve dramatic improvements in grade-level reading over the past 2 years. More than just fun and games, the recognition of Read Across America reinforces and models to our young people the adult importance of reading and literacy. And I believe our all-hands-in approach was one of the factors helping us achieve the dramatic improvements in reading scores the past 2 years, with 91% of our third graders meeting or exceeding the requirements of the third grade reading guarantee. And for this school year, we are leaning on those same hands and many more to help us achieve even better results. The task is not easy. We are in the middle of our all-out, multi-layered Columbus City School Reads initiative, which includes Saturday super reader workshops, family tools posted on Facebook, incentives in the classroom, and a growing partnership with the Columbus Blue Jackets. In fact, 3,360 of our third graders from 55 elementary schools have signed up for the Book Jackets effort, in which students track the number of minutes they read outside the classroom in exchange for opportunity at prizes, including tickets to Columbus Blue Jacket games and a special visit by Blue Jackets mascot Stinger. These programs, added to Reading Buddies, Books for Breakfast, and the homework help centers at all of the Columbus Metropolitan Library branches, then combined with the dedication of our reading teachers, instructional coaches, and our parents and families, all of them need to be impactful if we are to meet and even beat that 91% score this year. So the next window for testing on the 3GRG, or third grade guarantee, in our district opens on March 27th and runs until April 14th. And to this board, I say we are dedicating significant resources, time, and talent to that cause. Though the impressive numbers in reading last week seem to eclipse all other activities in the district, I also want to point out some other impressive achievements by our talented students worthy of mention. Columbus Alternative senior Madeline Schroeder won the Poetry Out Loud State Championship on Saturday. She'll be traveling to Washington, D.C. at the end of April to compete for the national title. Our district hosted its first ever annual VEX Robotics Competition, the result of a grant we received through the Robotics Education Competition Foundation. We had 11 elementary school teams and 17 middle and high school teams competing. 3 of our advanced teams, 2 from Northland and 1 from Beechcroft, qualified for the state VEX Robotic Competition coming up this weekend in Marion. A team from Whetstone launched into the second annual CBUS Student Hackathon, sponsored by AT&T. They will compete against more than a dozen local teams in a 2-month challenge to design their own mobile application. And of course, we're in full cheer mode for our student athletes who are competing in the state basketball tournaments and other tournaments. In wrestling, we have 4 state qualifiers representing Mifflin, Whetstone, Walnut Ridge, and Beechcroft. In bowling, we have both a state individual qualifier, Avery Brown from Eastmore, and a state team qualifier in our girls team, once again from Briggs. And in basketball, we first congratulate our girls' state district champs from Columbus Afrocentric and Independence. They play tonight and tomorrow in the next round. And for the boys, Northland, Mifflin, Afrocentric, Eastmore, Linden, McKinley, and our City League champions at South continue to advance in the playoffs. They also play tonight and tomorrow in the next round. So everyone in this room will be rooting and cheering for these students. So inside the classroom and outside the school day, our boys and girls, young men and young women are achieving great successes. And to make that happen, to help them along their pathways to success, requires great dedication and commitment from our teachers, our staff, our administrators, and every person in this district. So to them, I say thank you for your work, and to this board, we say thank you for giving us the resources to provide that impact. And that's the end of my report.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Superintendent. Any questions or comments from board members for the superintendent this evening? Thank you. Keep up the good work, Mr. Superintendent. Appreciate your report. Let's move on then to the internal auditor. Madam Internal Auditor, have you a report for the board this evening?
President Baker, Vice President Cole, members of the board. At the February 23rd A&A meeting, the committee adopted the Audit Committee Calendar of Activity for 2017. The calendar of activity is designed to assure the activity of the committee is aligned with the responsibility and authority granted to the committee by the board as laid out in the committee charter. In April of 2013, the committee and the board had a half-day retreat to establish the responsibility and authority the board wanted the committee to exercise. A consensus was arrived at by both bodies, and an amended committee charter was adopted by the board in May of 2013 and 2015 to reflect the committee charge. To assist the committee in meeting their responsibility, the committee has adopted a calendar of activity. This calendar is prepared each January and vetted and approved by the committee. The calendar is closely aligned with the committee charter. The calendar is grouped into the same categories as the charter as follows. You'll have committee operations, financial reporting, internal control, ethical and legal compliance and risk management, external audits by independent accountants, and internal audit. The calendar will be changed if the board makes any changes to the A&A charter. A copy of the calendar is included in the board package. And this concludes my report.
Thank you, Madam Internal Auditor. Any questions for the Internal Auditor this evening, board members?
Just a comment, Mr. President.
Mr. Vice President.
Thank you, Mr. President. Again, thank you so much for presenting this. We've had so much dialogue and audit and accountability about any number of things that are taking place quite positively. There have been a number of corrective action plans that have been implemented in large part because of how this calendar has been organized and the collaborative work that's taken place between your shop and the superintendent's part of the administration and the treasurer. So I thank you for this. I look forward to continued updates as we move forward with this calendar, getting the deliverables on what your work has been. Thank you.
Thank you. Yes, Mr. Peretti.
Just a comment as well, and it's more for the viewing audience. I think a lot of people don't realize, having an internal auditor is permissive under Ohio Revised Code, and I think it's all school districts should have it. But the work that you do is very, very valuable, and we really appreciate the updates and the work that you do, and the partnership that has been formed over these last few years has been fantastic. So thank you for all your work. Mm-hmm.
Thank you very much. Hear, hear. All right, then, Mr. Treasurer, have you a report for the board this evening?
Just a quick announcement that the Finance and Appropriation Committee meeting will be next Thursday, a week from this coming Thursday on the 16th at 4 p.m. in this very room.
Very good. Thank you, Mr. Treasurer. And now we will take up the consent agenda. So the chair will now entertain a motion that we approve it as it has been presented.
So moved.
Moved and seconded. Any questions or comments on any piece of legislation within the consent agenda? Board Member Gibbs.
Yes. President Baker, on 10.2, I would just like to extend a huge congratulations on the young adults and some mature adults who will be receiving their high school diplomas. And they have persevered, they had the resilience, they battled back and they saw it through. So I'm very excited that we are going to award them their diplomas and that they are invited to join us at honors and recognitions to walk the stage and to get it. And so thank you, Dr. Good, for extending that opportunity. We had people avail themselves before, and it is a wonderful partnership to be able to have our adults to continue their lifelong dream of becoming high school graduates.
Thank you for bringing that to our attention, Ms. Gibbs. Mr. Peretti?
I just want to bring to attention just some facility management legislation, and it's just really, really great to see Operation Fix-It really moving forward, and the money that we asked for from the public that we are putting to good use, getting to work on it right now, and being accountable and transparent, and scorecarding ourselves and showing the public this is what we're doing with their money. My phone is off. Pretty sure. I put it on airplane. Sorry, it probably is me, though.
Thank you, Board Member Peretti, for highlighting that. Yes, it's exciting that Operation Fix-It has already kicked off, so we're all very excited about that. Thank you. Any other questions or comments on any other items of legislation? Okay, very well then. Mr. Treasurer, please call the roll.
Mr. Brown?
Yes.
Vice President Cole?
Yes.
Ms. Gibbs?
Yes.
Mr. Peretti?
Yes.
Ms. Reyes?
Yes.
And President Baker?
Yes.
That motion carried.
Thank you, Mr. Treasurer. Now, let's move on to announcements. Any brief announcements or points of pride any board members would like to share? Mr. Peretti?
Just real quick, and the treasurer had already pointed it out, that on the 16th, we'll be having our monthly financials, and we'll be continuing to do the budgetary process and the non-personnel programs and hearing those presented to the Finance Committee. So looking forward to that. And then continuing this budgetary process. And just to let people know that this district has been very, very cautious as we move forward the state budget process and what those obstacles are. We've been paying attention to it in the Finance Committee, and we'll continue to be paying attention to it.
Thank you, Mr. Peretti. Mr. Brown?
Thank you. Just one, and I was pleased to have the 100 Black women here as well, because the message that I heard this morning from the Girl Scouts is a very similar message, and I know that at least one of our board members is a former or current Girl Scout. This morning I attended the State of the Girl breakfast. My wife Marilyn and I are both on the host committee, and the Girl Scouts are bringing their conference, their annual conference, here to Columbus in early October. So we've been working diligently on that. The theme this year is GIRL, G-I-R-L, standing for Go-Getter, Innovator, Risk Taker, and Leader. And the Girl Scout organization really does a great job, very consistent with what I heard from 100 Black women. And very, very consistent, more than I anticipated. We heard from Sylvia Acevedo this morning, who's a rocket scientist, and she is the acting CEO of Girl Scouts, and she's great. She's done some things with education, and she's done science, and she's worked with the White House, and she's available if we want to work with her in some fashion as we go forward. I've talked with her a few times now. Couple of the troubling things that I heard about, because they're doing great work, and they want to expand what they're doing here in Central Ohio and in Columbus. But there's, at the State of the Girl, they talk about statistical data, demographic data. And what they found is that over the last decade, poverty among girls is on the increase, and especially in Ohio. So we've got lots of work to do. Also, that obesity is up, physical exercise is down, and there's been an increase in the number of young women who consider suicide, seriously consider suicide, over the last decade, and that's a significant increase from 19% to 23%. All troubling things, and we really need to work on it. So I know there will be a lot of activities in Columbus this year. Tomorrow, I believe there's a presentation to the Columbus Metropolitan Club, and then again in early October is the annual conference. So we'll look for opportunities, and I heard from them this morning that you've arranged that they're coming here at the late, and I'm disappointed because I'm not going to be at that meeting.
Yes,
But I've been forgiven by them.
absolutely.
Thanks.
Very good. So yes, that's a good point. They will be here at our second meeting in March. So we look forward to that. Mr. Superintendent?
Thank you, President Baker. Just to piggyback on Board Member Brown's, actually Sylvia was here, and she presented last year and worked with our girls out at the Columbus Preparatory School for Girls, and has presented in the past as well. She's a very empowering speaker, and not only that, she goes to classrooms and works with individuals as well as small groups. So we've enjoyed her presence and participation in the past and anticipate we'll continue that.
Very good. Board Member Gibbs.
And thank you. And again, they couldn't come today because they were busy, and so they'll be here on the second Tuesday. But I would like to, as always, invite everyone to join us for the Innovation and Reform meeting, which will be held next Tuesday, March 14th at Columbus Downtown High School, starting promptly at 5:30 p.m. That meeting is, 6 o'clock p.m. I got to be there by 5:30. 6 o'clock p.m. It is open to the public, and we will continue all of our discussions. If you have any questions, concerns, or would like to fill out our survey, visit our webpage under board committees, and our survey link is under Innovation and Reform if you would like to submit an idea or something for us to consider.
Thank you, Ms. Gibbs. And Mr. Vice President?
Thank you, Mr. President. Very briefly, first and foremost, I would love the opportunity to recognize one of our young students who has recently joined the Board External Monitoring Committee, Mr. Ricardo Felix. Can you stand up for us, son? Please just give him a hand. And this young man is just one shining example of the type of student that we love to give adulation to here in the district. He's a student at South High School, a star there. This gentleman is working on a book. He's a businessman. He's working on a small business. I mean, he's doing some phenomenal things outside of being an outstanding student. Mr. Felix, just thank you for being here. I look forward to working with you.
Thank you.
In addition, I just want to acknowledge, too, that I had the opportunity to attend Berwick Alternative last week for their Black History Month event, which was absolutely outstanding. They put together a host of events that had the opportunity to present literary works that were produced by the youngsters. They had the opportunity to show off their talents. They have some incredibly talented musicians at this school, some young man who played the guitar and sang, and I mean, I was absolutely blown away by what I saw. The depth of thought that these sixth grade students, and let me say that again, sixth grade students put into their presentations for what their ideas around social justice were. This is a school and a group of students who have a profound sense of social justice and what they believe are the emerging issues of African Americans and other people of color in this country. And just the level of thought and creativity that was put into their work was outstanding. And final, I had the opportunity this morning, I missed the breakfast because I attended the Bread Organization's discussion today about One ID Columbus, a concept that seems to be very interesting. It's taken up some national presence somewhere close to your hometown in Oakland, in San Francisco, New York City, Baltimore and Detroit and several other places throughout the country. I had the opportunity to hear about One Idea, this concept of One Idea Columbus, that is the idea of creating a city kind of based ID card that folks can utilize that may give them access to everything from human services that are city-based to access to recreation centers, discounts on movies, that kind of stuff. I look forward to a further discussion on this because there are any number of implications as to how this could even possibly be integrated throughout the county and city, let alone our own partnership in this as a district. So I look forward to further discussion around this, and I certainly, as time goes on, will report. I thank you, Mr. President.
Thank you, Mr. Vice President. And Board Member Gibbs, did you have one more item?
I did, 1.5. So, 'tis the season for high school musicals. And all around our district, there are an amazing set of singers and dancers and actors and musicians that are putting on incredible programs. And normally, our phone rings about a whole lot of things, but this weekend, it was about how great specifically the South High School program was and their band. And so our amazing J.C. Benton put together a list of high school performances, but would ask if maybe there's a way that we can put a list of those spring plays up on our website somewhere so that the community can go and check out some plays that are coming up around our high schools. And a lot of them are first-year teachers that are putting them on, and some of them are not very well versed, but from what I understand, the talent is tremendous. And so hoping we get a chance to go and check out middle and high school performances and to see how our performing arts are alive and well. And I don't know what you read or any Facebook chain letters, but Columbus City Schools is not cutting in the arts. In fact, our arts are thriving, and it is one of the strongest points of our academic programs, providing our students with well-rounded academic options. And so kudos to your entire performing arts department for putting those on. And from the Ohio School Board Association, we hosted our spring conference, and I am excited to say that they recognized 2 of our board colleagues for milestone years of service. So Mr. Eric Brown has 15 years of service on the school board. So we've only seen him for a while, but he has served on public school boards for 15 years. Please give him a round of applause. And our very own President Baker has entered his 10th year of service, of public service. Please give them a round of applause. And when you serve on a district board such as this, those are like dog years, so it's like 1 for 7 years, you know what I mean? And the average board service is about 3. And so to achieve 10 and 15 years and to have a board with this level of service and expertise is truly a tremendous opportunity. And it brings us a wealth of diversity of opinion and perspectives that help us move our mission forward. So gentlemen, thank you very much for your years of service.
Thank you very much. And Mr. Superintendent?
To Board Member Gibbs' point, the list of spring musicals and plays are already on the website, so.
Very good. Board Member Hudson, I noted your arrival. Do you have anything you'd like to share this evening?
No, thank you. Apologies for my tardiness.
No worries. Thank you for being here. And if there's nothing else from the board or administration as far as announcements, I will ask the Vice President to offer a motion for our consideration.
Thank you, Mr. President. It is recommended that the board go into recess into executive session per section 121.22G, Ohio Revised Code, to consider the appointment, employment, promotion, demotion, or compensation of a public employee or official in executive session per section 121.22 G4 Ohio Revised Code, to prepare for, conduct, or review negotiations or bargaining sessions with public employees concerning their compensation or other terms or conditions of their employment.
Second.
Moved and seconded. Hearing no discussion, Mr. Treasurer, please call the roll.
Vice President Cole?
Yes.
Ms. Gibbs?
Yes.
Ms. Hudson?
Yes.
Mr. Peretti?
Yes.
Ms. Reyes?
Yes.
President Baker?
Yes.
Mr. Brown?
Yes.
That motion carried.
Thank you. The board will now recess into executive session. We will adjourn from there without returning to these chambers. Good evening. See you next time.